Hello everyone and welcome to Make Your Writing in English Successful MOOC. I'm Dr. Amal Ben Yahya from Luanes Constantine, and today we will talk about revising and editing your writing paragraph. We start quickly with the objectives of this sequence. So by the end of this lesson, you will be able to recognize the significance of revising and editing in the writing process. Use revising strategies to improve coherence and unity. And third, implement or practice two kinds of editing, which are self-editing and peer editing. Well, revising and editing are the third step of the writing process after pre-writing and drafting. You have already studied the first two steps, pre-writing and drafting, with my colleague Professor Rouar. And in this lesson, we will talk in some details about revising and editing step in your writing process. Well, first of all, what do we mean by revising and editing, and what you are supposed to do when you revise or edit your writing? As we have already mentioned, revising and editing are an important step in the writing process. In this step, you polish what you have written. Polishing your writing means making it look better, cleaner, or brighter. While revising and editing your writing, you follow two steps. The first step is revising big issues of content and organization. So here you read again what you have written and check if you need to add more information, change some words or sentences, etc. The second step is working on the smaller issues of grammar, punctuation, and mechanics. So after you finish with revising your ideas or content, you proceed with revising the form of your paragraph or essay. In general, revising and editing involves 5 main steps. Checking what you have written by reading it silently or aloud, adding necessary or omitting unnecessary information, asking for another opinion, usually from a colleague or classmate, and this is called peer editing, and finally, rewriting your text, making it better and more correct and appropriate. Here is an example of how your revised paper looks like. So you have here a paragraph or the text with comments in the red pen on it. These comments will help you improve your paragraph, correct your mistakes, and produce a better draft which will contain fewer or no mistakes. We talked about revising. Now, what do we mean by editing? And what is the difference between revising and editing? Well, the two terms are very close to each other in that revising is part of editing, and both of them aim at enhancing or improving the quality of your writing, including clarity, coherence, and accuracy. So, by the end, you finish with a clear, concise, and precise writing which can be understood and appreciated by the readers of your writing production. Well, there are two types of editing: self-editing and peer editing. Self-editing means you read what you have written and you engage in correcting your own mistakes by your own or by yourself. So here you do the job of your teacher. You correct your own mistakes by checking spelling and grammar errors. In the second type of editing, which is peer editing, a peer editor who can be a classmate or a colleague reads your paper. And here you give your paragraph or essay to your classmate and ask him to correct it or give you comments about what you should add or change to make your paragraph looks better. Let's take few examples. In this example, you have a paragraph written by a student with a marginal comments on the right, on the left sides. These comments, for example, you have good paragraph. I like this part. So here the peer gives a positive comment. Another comment says, are these sentences important? So here, the peer or the corrector feels that maybe it would be better to omit these sentences to make your paragraph simpler and more concise. Here on the left at the bottom, the peer writes, "You use the word crazy a lot. Isn't it a slang?" And slang means informal, whereas in writing paragraphs, in academic writing, you are not supposed to write slangs. And you can also add comments to the written product. You say, for example, "I couldn't find another better word than crazy to express my idea." After you finish with correcting the first version of your writing, you obtain a second draft which contains less errors and comments than the first draft. But still, there are few mistakes which are underlined here, and they need more revision. So you read your writing again and again until you make sure that your paragraph or essay is clear, coherent, and with no mistakes. Here is an example of how your final draft will look like. So as you can see, the final draft is shorter and it contains very few or no errors. To make good revising and editing, you may use an editing checklist. A checklist is a sheet of paper which you can write yourself or have it from your teacher, where you write down a list of points that you need to check in order to make sure your writing is well done and that you don't forget or you didn't forget any important points. Here is an example of a self-editing checklist or worksheet where you include different aspects like format, content, punctuation, grammar and sentence structure, and then in each part you write statements which you can answer by yes or no. For example, you can say, "My paragraph has a title, yes or no? Is the title centered? Yes or no?" These are statements about the form. About the content, you can write statements like, "Does it fit the assignment?" or "Is it relevant to the topic?" Yes or no. And of course, if no, you have to make it more relevant. And then you check punctuation, grammar, and sentence structure. Here is another example of a peer editing checklist, a checklist that can be used by your classmate. So you have such questions as how many sentences are there, which parts are not clear and would like to comment on, what are the good things that should be kept, and the inappropriate or mistaken parts which need to be removed and changed. And hopefully, by using self and peer editing processes, you succeed in making your writing more meaningful and successful. This is the end of my presentation. Here is the list of references. Thank you so much for your attention and goodbye.